A black waitress risked everything to save an alone girl from being kidnapped, unaware the girl was the sister of a Korean Mafia boss. The afternoon sun hung low over Seattle's International District, casting long shadows across the narrow streets. Lena Hayes wiped down the counter at Jade Garden Cafe for the third time in 10 minutes, watching the clock crawl toward 4 p.m. The lunch rush had ended an hour ago, leaving the cafe in that strange limbo between busy and dead. Just enough customers to keep her working, not enough to make the time pass quickly. 26 years old with a social work degree, gathering dust and student loans that grew like weeds. This cafe job was supposed to be temporary. That was 3 years ago. Now it was just life. Wake up, serve coffee, smile at strangers, go home to her studio apartment, repeat. "Lena, you got table 6? Marcus called from the back, already pulling off his apron. 17 years old and treating this job exactly like what it was, a stepping stone. Lena remembered being that optimistic once. "Yeah, I got it," she said, grabbing the coffee pot. The cafe was quiet today. A few regulars scattered around, Mr. Chen doing his crossword in the corner booth, 2 college students sharing earbuds at table 3, and a teenage girl sitting alone by the window. The girl had come in about 20 minutes ago, and Lena had noticed her immediately. Not just because she was young, maybe 16, but because everything about her screamed money. Designer backpack, iPhone, in a case that probably cost more than Lena's rent. School uniform from Madison Prep Academy, one of those elite private schools where tuition rivaled college. But it wasn't the money that caught Lena's attention. It was the way the girl sat, rigid, alert, eyes flicking to the door every 30 seconds like she was expecting someone, or avoiding someone. Lena had seen that look before, in her social work internships, in the domestic violence shelters where she'd volunteered, the look of someone who didn't feel safe. "Can I get you anything else?" Lena asked, approaching the girl's table with a professional smile. The girl startled, then relaxed slightly when she saw it was just the waitress. "No, thank you. Just, can I stay a bit longer? I'm waiting for someone." Her English was perfect, almost no accent, but there was something slightly formal about it, and her hands were shaking as she lifted her coffee cup. "Of course. Stay as long as you need. Want a refill on that latte?" Lena kept her voice gentle, non-threatening. "Yes, please." The girl offered a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. As Lena poured, she noticed more details. A thin scar on the girl's left hand, expensive watch that looked too mature for a teenager, and the way she kept her phone face down on the table, but checked it compulsively every few seconds. "You okay?" Lena asked quietly. "I don't mean to pry, but you look a little nervous." The girl's eyes widened, then immediately shuddered. "I'm fine. Just waiting for my brother. He's always late." "Brothers?" Lena said with a sympathetic smile, backing off. "They're the worst. Let me know if you need anything." She moved away, but something nagged at her. That explanation felt rehearsed, and the girl's body language screamed the opposite of fine. Lena returned to the counter, organizing sugar packets that didn't need organizing, keeping the girl in her peripheral vision. Years of social work training didn't just disappear because you ended up serving coffee instead of counseling clients. At 4:15, Lena saw the girl stiffen. Following her gaze, Lena spotted a black SUV pulling up across the street, windows tinted dark, engine running. Wrong in a way she couldn't immediately articulate, but felt in her gut. The girl stood abruptly, fumbling with her backpack, face pale. She pulled out her phone, fingers shaking so badly she nearly dropped it, and started typing frantically. Then the SUV doors opened. 2 men got out, Asian, late 20s, moving with purpose. They wore casual clothes, jeans, jackets, but something about the way they carried themselves set off every alarm bell in Lena's head. The confidence of people who expected compliance, the focused intensity of people on a mission. The girl saw them and froze. Complete paralyzing terror washed over her face. One of the men pointed directly at the cafe, at the girl, and Lena knew with absolute certainty that something very bad was about to happen. "Marcus," she called, voice sharp. "Call 911 now." "What? Why? Just do it." The men were crossing the street, moving fast. The girl was backing toward the cafe's rear exit, trapped between options, stay and face them, or run and risk being caught outside. The front door chimed. Both men walked in, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Mr. Chen looked up from his crossword, immediately returned to it with the careful neutrality of someone who'd learned not to see things. The college students kept their heads down. "Hanjin," one of the men said, voice carrying across the quiet cafe. He spoke in Korean, but his tone was universal. "Come with us. Don't make a scene." The girl, Hanjin, pressed herself against the back wall, phone clutched in both hands. "My brother is coming. He'll be here any minute." The second man laughed, cold and humorless. More Korean, the words sharp and threatening. Lena didn't speak the language, but body language needed no translation. They were telling the girl she could come quietly or they'd make her come. Lena moved without thinking, years of crisis intervention, training overriding common sense. She stepped between the men and Hanjin, professional smile firmly in place, heart hammering against her ribs. "Gentlemen, can I help you with something? Are you here to order?" Both men looked at her like she was an insect, annoying, irrelevant, easily crushed. The first one, taller with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow, spoke in accented English. "This doesn't concern you. Move." "I'm afraid I can't do that. This is my workplace and that's a customer. So unless you're ordering something, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Lena's voice was steady, but her palms were sweating. These men were dangerous. She could see it in their eyes, in the way they stood, in the barely concealed impatience that suggested violence was a comfortable tool. "Last chance," Scar said, stepping closer. "Move, or we move you." "Lena, don't," Hanjin whispered behind her, voice breaking. "Please, just let them." "Not happening," Lena said firmly. She pulled out her phone, held it up. "I've already called the police. They'll be here in minutes, so you can either leave now, or you can explain to Seattle PD why you're threatening a teenage girl." A lie. Marcus was supposed to call 911, but she had no idea if he'd actually done it. But the threat worked. Both men hesitated, exchanged glances. Rapid Korean passing between them. Then Scar smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression Lena had ever seen. "You're making a mistake." He lunged. Lena didn't think, just reacted. Years of self-defense classes her mother had insisted on. Hours at the boxing gym working out frustration and student loan anxiety, muscle memory taking over where rational thought failed. She sidestepped, grabbed his extended arm, used his momentum against him to send him stumbling into a table. Coffee cups shattered. Mr. Chen swore in Chinese. The college student scrambled away, laptop clattering to the floor. The second man came at her faster, smarter. Lena blocked his first swing, but the second caught her in the ribs, pain exploding, breath leaving in a rush. She staggered back, and he grabbed for Hanjin. "No!" Lena kicked out, catching him in the knee. He cursed, stumbled, and Hanjin used the moment to dart past him, heading for the front door. But Scar was back up, blocking the exit. Hanjin skidded to a stop, trapped, and Lena saw her chance slipping away. These men were professional, trained, coordinated, used to violence. Lena was a social worker turned waitress with some boxing classes in desperation. The odds weren't good. Scar grabbed Hanjin by the arm, yanking her toward the door. The girl screamed, struggling, and something in Lena snapped. She grabbed the coffee pot from the nearest table, still hot, 3/4 full, and threw it. The pot hit Scar square in the chest, hot coffee splashing across his face and neck. He screamed, released Hanjin, hands flying to his burning skin. "Out the back!" Lena shouted to Hanjin. "Go!" But the second man was between them and the rear exit. They were trapped in the middle of the cafe, surrounded, and Lena's ribs screamed with every breath. Then the front door burst open again, and everything changed. 3 more men entered, Korean, expensive suits, moving with the same dangerous grace as the first 2, but somehow different. More controlled, more deadly. And at their center was a man who made everyone else in the room look like children playing dress-up. Tall for a Korean man, maybe 6 feet, with sharp features and dark eyes that swept the room in a single assessing glance. 28, maybe 30, dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Lena's car. And when those eyes landed on Hanjin, then the 2 men threatening her, his expression went from neutral to absolutely murderous in half a heartbeat. "Appa!" Hanjin sobbed, and the man's jaw clenched. He spoke in Korean, just a few words, low and deadly. Lena didn't need a translation to understand. "You're dead." The room exploded into violence. The newcomers moved on the two attackers with brutal efficiency. No wasted movement, no hesitation, just pure, controlled violence that was somehow more terrifying than the chaotic struggle moments before. Within seconds, both men were on the ground, one unconscious, the other groaning with what looked like a broken arm. The man in the charcoal suit, Han Jin's brother clearly, ignored them completely. He crossed to his sister in 3 long strides, pulling her into his arms, speaking rapid Korean that sounded like equal parts fury and relief. And then his eyes found Lena. She was still standing in the middle of the cafe, coffee pot handle in one hand, breathing hard, ribs throbbing, very aware that she was surrounded by people who'd just demonstrated they could break bones without breaking a sweat. The man studied her, really studied her. Dark eyes taking in everything. The defensive stance she hadn't dropped, the broken coffee pot, the way she'd positioned herself between his sister and danger without even knowing who they were. "You," he said, English unaccented, voice deep and controlled. "You protected my sister." It wasn't a question. Lena swallowed hard. They were trying to hurt her. So yeah. "She fought them," Han Jin said, still clinging to her brother, voice muffled against his chest. "Appa, they were going to take me and she threw coffee and kicked them and she saved me." Something shifted in the man's expression. Still intense, still dangerous, but with a warmth underneath that made Lena's breath catch. He said something to Han Jin in Korean, gentle, reassuring, then turned his full attention back to Lena. "What's your name?" Lena Hayes." Her voice came out steadier than expected. "Look, I don't know what's going on here, but that girl was terrified and those men were threatening her. I did what anyone would do." "No," the man said quietly. "You did what most people wouldn't. You put yourself between her and danger without knowing the situation, without backup, against men who would have hurt you without hesitation." He took a step closer, and Lena's heart hammered. "That's not what anyone does. That's extraordinary." "I'm a social worker," Lena said, then caught herself. "Was a social worker. Crisis intervention training. You see someone in trouble, you help. That's all." "That's all," he repeated, something that might have been amusement flickering across his face. "You're bleeding." Lena looked down and realized he was right. Her lip was split, probably from when the second man's fist had gotten too close, and her ribs were definitely bruised, maybe cracked. Adrenaline was fading, leaving pain in its wake. "I'm fine, just what's going to happen now? Because those guys," she gestured to the unconscious men, "are probably going to need an ambulance. And the police." "Will not be involved," the man said firmly. "This is a private matter. My people will handle it." "Handle it how?" His smile was sharp as broken glass. "You don't want to know." Lena should have been terrified, should have insisted on calling the police, getting official statements, doing everything by the book. But something in the way this man looked at his sister, the fierce protectiveness, the barely controlled rage at what could have happened, made her hesitate. "Who are you?" she asked instead. "My name is Park Bo-jin. Han Jin is my sister. And the men who tried to take her today," his expression went cold, "they work for people who made a very serious mistake. Park Bo-jin." The name meant nothing to Lena, but clearly it meant something to everyone else in the cafe. Mr. Chen had gone very still. The college students were carefully not looking. Even Marcus, peeking from the kitchen, had gone pale. "I need to thank you properly," Bo-jin continued, "for protecting my sister, for risking yourself when you had no obligation to do so." He pulled a card from his wallet, held it out. "This is my private number. Call me anytime, for anything you need. Anything at all." Lena took the card automatically, staring at the embossed characters. "I don't need payment. I just did what was right." "I know, that's why I'm offering." His eyes held hers, intense and unreadable. "Lena Hayes, I owe you a debt, and I always pay my debts." Then he turned to his sister, spoke quietly in Korean, and the group began moving toward the door. 2 of his men grabbed the unconscious attackers, dragging them out with the casual efficiency of people who'd done this many times before. At the threshold, Bo-jin paused and looked back. "The damage to your cafe, I'll have it repaired. And Lena?" He smiled, and it transformed his entire face from dangerous to devastating. "I hope you'll call. I'd very much like to thank you properly." Then they were gone, expensive cars pulling away, leaving Lena standing in the wreckage of her workplace with a business card in her hand and the certainty that her life had just gotten very, very complicated. Holy shit, Marcus breathed from the kitchen doorway. Lena, do you know who that was? Park Bo-jin, Lena said numbly. He said his name was, he's the head of the Park family, Korean organized crime. Lena, you just saved the sister of one of the most dangerous men in Seattle. The business card suddenly felt heavy in Lena's hand. Dangerous. A connection to a world she wanted nothing to do with. But as she looked at it, she remembered the way Bo-jin had held his sister, the relief in his eyes, the genuine gratitude in his voice. And despite everything logical screaming at her to throw the card away, she found herself slipping it into her pocket instead. Just great, she muttered, because my life wasn't complicated enough already. The cafe closed early for repairs. Lena's manager, Mrs. Kim, a tiny Korean woman who ran the place with an iron fist, took one look at the broken tables and shattered coffee cups and sent everyone home with pay. Insurance will cover it, she said, though her expression suggested she knew exactly what had happened and insurance would have nothing to do with it. Lena walked home in a daze, ribs aching, mind replaying the afternoon's violence on loop. She'd been in confrontations before, domestic disturbance calls during her internship, angry clients at the shelter. But nothing like this. Nothing with that level of coordinated violence and casual brutality. Her studio apartment felt smaller than usual when she finally made it home. Fourth floor walk-up, one room serving as bedroom, living room, and kitchen. Bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. But it was hers, paid for with her own money, and right now it felt like a sanctuary. She stripped out of her coffee-stained uniform, cataloging damage, bruised ribs on her left side, darkening to purple already. Split lip, scraped knuckles from when she'd blocked that punch. Nothing serious, but enough to remind her how lucky she'd been. Those men could have killed her, probably would have, if Bo-jin hadn't shown up when he did. Lena grabbed her phone, thought about calling her mother in Atlanta, decided against it. What would she even say? Hey Mom, I got into a fight with Korean gangsters today. How was your Tuesday? That conversation would go nowhere good. Instead, she ran a hot bath, sank into water that made her ribs protest, and tried not to think about dark eyes and a voice that promised both danger and something else. Something that had made her pulse quicken in a way that had nothing to do with fear. The business card sat on the edge of the sink. Lena stared at it, water cooling around her, trying to decide what to do. Throw it away. Obviously, Park Bo-jin was a criminal. Whatever gratitude he felt, whatever debt he claimed, it came from a world she wanted nothing to do with. She'd worked too hard, sacrificed too much to throw her life away on some dangerous attraction to a man who solved problems with violence. But she kept seeing Han Jin's face, the terror in that girl's eyes, the way she'd clung to her brother like he was the only safe thing in the universe. And she kept hearing Bo-jin's voice. That's extraordinary. When was the last time someone had called her extraordinary? When had anyone looked at her like she mattered, like she'd done something that actually made a difference? Lena climbed out of the bath, dried off, wrapped herself in the ratty robe her grandmother had given her years ago. She picked up the business card, turned it over in her hands. She wouldn't call. Obviously, that would be insane. But she wouldn't throw it away either. Just keep it as a reminder of the day she'd done something brave, something that mattered, something more than just serving coffee and pretending her life had purpose. She tucked the card into her wallet next to her expired social worker license and tried to convince herself that was the end of it. It wasn't the end of it. The next morning, Lena arrived at Jade Garden Cafe to find it transformed. The broken tables had been replaced with beautiful new ones. The shattered window was fixed. Everything damaged had been repaired or upgraded, and Mrs. Kim was standing in the middle of it all, looking overwhelmed and slightly suspicious. Lena, she said when Lena walked in, what did you do yesterday? I helped a customer. There was trouble, and I helped. The Park family sent their people, fixed everything overnight, paid in cash, wouldn't take no for an answer. Mrs. Kim's eyes were sharp. The Park family, Lena, do you understand what that means? I'm starting to. They don't do favors without expecting something in return. They don't show gratitude without strings attached. Mrs. Kim moved closer, voice dropping. Whatever happened yesterday, Whatever you did, be careful. The parks are dangerous people. I know, a girl was in trouble. I helped. That's all. Mrs. Kim studied her for a long moment, then sighed. You have a good heart, Lena. Don't let it get you killed. The warning settled like ice in Lena's stomach. Her shift passed in a blur of customers and coffee, and trying not to think about the fact that she was now somehow connected to organized crime. But at 3 p.m., a man walked in who made thinking about anything else impossible. Not Bojin, one of his men from yesterday. Shorter, stockier, with kind eyes that seemed at odds with the dangerous way he carried himself. He approached the counter directly. Lena Hayes? That's me. My name is Yoon Jae-sung. I work for Park Bojin. He set an envelope on the counter. He wanted me to deliver this personally, and to tell you that if you need anything, security, medical care, anything at all, you're to call immediately. Lena stared at the envelope like it might explode. What is this? Gratitude for protecting Han Jin. Jae-sung's expression softened. She's been through a lot, that girl. Having someone stand up for her without hesitation, it meant everything to her, to all of us. I don't want money. It's not money. He pushed the envelope closer. Just look and think about it. Boss would very much like to see you again. Properly this time. Maybe dinner. Somewhere nice. A chance to say thank you without broken furniture and unconscious attackers. Heat flooded Lena's cheeks. He wants to take me to dinner? He wants to thank you and… Jae-sung smiled slightly. Between you and me, he hasn't stopped talking about the woman who threw hot coffee at armed men to protect his sister. You made an impression. An impression on a crime boss? Great. That's exactly what I needed in my life. Boss isn't what you think. He's… Jae-sung paused, choosing words carefully. He's complicated, good man in a bad business, and he's very interested in getting to know you better. Tell him thank you, but I'm not interested in getting involved with… Lena gestured vaguely. Whatever this is, I helped a kid in trouble. That's all. It doesn't mean anything. It means something to him, to Han Jin, to all of us. Jae-sung tapped the envelope. At least look and think about it. No pressure. But Lena, you saved that girl's life yesterday. Boss wants to properly thank someone who values his sister's safety more than their own. That's rare. He left before she could argue further, and Lena was left staring at the envelope, intensely aware of Mrs. Kim watching from the kitchen and Marcus pretending not to eavesdrop from the register. She waited until her break to open it. Inside wasn't money, instead a handwritten note in elegant script. Lena, I know you said you don't need payment, and I respect that, but I would very much like the opportunity to thank you properly. Dinner? Tomorrow evening, if you're free. I promise no violence, no business talk, just gratitude from a brother who can't adequately express what you did for his sister. If you're willing, call the number on my card. If not, I understand. But I hope you'll give me the chance. Bojin below the note was a second card. This one for a high-end spa in downtown Seattle, with an appointment already booked for that afternoon. For your injuries, someone had written in smaller print. Please let us help. Lena should have been offended, should have seen this as manipulation, as a powerful man throwing money at a problem. But instead, she found herself touched by the thoughtfulness. He'd noticed she was hurt, cared enough to arrange treatment. You're going to go, aren't you? Marcus said, appearing at her elbow. What? No, I mean… Lena, you're blushing. You're actually blushing. Marcus grinned. The dangerous crime boss asked you out, and you're totally going to say yes. I am not. This is insane. He's a criminal, Marcus. Like an actual organized crime boss. I can't date him. But you want to. Did she? Lena looked at the note again, at the careful handwriting, the genuine gratitude. Thought about dark eyes and a voice that had made her feel seen for the first time in years. It's just dinner, she heard herself say. Just a thank you, that's all. Sure, Marcus said, not believing her for a second. Just dinner with a gorgeous, dangerous man who looks at you like you hung the moon. No big deal. Shut up. But Marcus was right, and Lena knew it. This wasn't just dinner. This was a choice. Stay in her safe, predictable, dead-end life, or take a risk on something that could be amazing or disastrous, or both. She looked at Bojin's card, at the number written in his own hand. One dinner. Just to say she'd tried. Just to see if the man behind the dangerous reputation matched the brother who'd held his sister like she was his whole world. Before she could second-guess herself, Lena pulled out her phone and dialed. He answered on the second ring. Lena. His voice was warm with something that might have been relief. I'm glad you called. One dinner, she said firmly. That's all. Just to say thank you properly. No expectations beyond that. One dinner, Bojin agreed. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. I'll send a car. I can drive myself. I know you can, but please let me do this. It's important to me. Something in his tone made her relent. Fine. One dinner. Somewhere public. Of course. She could hear the smile in his voice. Thank you, Lena, for saying yes, for yesterday, for being exactly who you are. He hung up before she could respond, and Lena was left holding her phone, heart racing, wondering what the hell she just agreed to. You're going out with the mob boss, Mrs. Kim said from behind her, making Lena jump. It's just dinner, a thank you. Nothing is ever just anything with people like the Parks. Mrs. Kim's expression was serious but not unkind. But Lena, I've known Bojin since he was a boy. His father used to come to this cafe, and I'll tell you what I told his father. There's good in that family, buried under all the violence in business. If Bojin is interested in you, it's because he saw something worth protecting. That matters. You're saying I should go. I'm saying be careful, but also, don't let fear stop you from living. You've been serving coffee and going through motions for 3 years. Maybe it's time for something more. Lena thought about that the rest of her shift. Through closing, on the walk home. Something more. A chance to feel alive again. To matter. To be seen as more than just a waitress with abandoned dreams. It was terrifying. It was possibly the stupidest decision she'd ever make. But as she pulled out Bojin's card again that night, studying the elegant script, she couldn't quite bring herself to regret it. One dinner. Just to see. What could possibly go wrong? Everything could go wrong, Lena discovered, starting with what to wear. She stood in front of her closet Thursday evening, staring at her limited options with growing panic. She owned exactly 3 outfits that weren't work uniforms or gym clothes, 2 sundresses bought on clearance, and 1 interview outfit that was 5 years old and probably out of style. None of them screamed dinner with dangerous crime boss. I should cancel, she muttered for the 15th time. This is insane. I'm going to dinner with a man who probably has people killed for a living. This is beyond stupid. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. The car will arrive at 6:45. Looking forward to tonight. BJ. Bojin signed his text BJ. That was somehow adorable and made everything worse because dangerous criminals weren't supposed to be adorable. Lena settled on the black sundress, simple, classic, hopefully appropriate, and spent an hour on makeup she rarely wore and hair that refused to cooperate. By 6:30, she was pacing her apartment, second-guessing everything, composing and deleting text messages, canceling the dinner at least 8 times. At 6:45 exactly, her phone rang. Miss Hayes, your car is here. The driver was professional and polite, opening the door to a sleek black sedan that was nicer than anything Lena had ever been in. The interior smelled like leather and expensive cologne, and there was a single white rose on the seat with another note. For extraordinary women who throw coffee pots at armed men. Thank you for giving me this chance. Sakterstern, BJ Lena's heart did something complicated in her chest. She was in so much trouble. The restaurant was in downtown Seattle, upscale, intimate, the kind of place where Lena would normally never be able to afford a glass of water. The hostess greeted her by name, led her to a private corner table where Bojin was already waiting. He stood when he saw her, and Lena's breath caught. He wore a dark suit, perfectly tailored, his hair styled back, and when he smiled, genuine warmth reaching his eyes, he was devastating. Lena, he said, moving around the table to pull out her chair. You look beautiful. You look dangerous, powerful, like every bad decision I've ever wanted to make. Nice. This place is incredible. It's quiet, private. I thought you might appreciate somewhere we could actually talk. He returned to his seat, and Lena noticed details. The way he moved with casual grace, the small scar on his left hand, the intelligence in his eyes as he studied her. Talk about what? Lena asked, nerves making her direct. Because Mr. Park... Bojan, please. Bojan, I need you to understand something. I'm not... This isn't my world. I don't know how to do dinner with someone like you. So if you're expecting... I'm expecting nothing except your company, he interrupted gently. Lena, I asked you here to say thank you. That's all. No expectations, no pressure, just gratitude from someone who can't adequately express what you did for my sister. You've already thanked me. The cafe repairs, the spa appointment, which was amazing, by the way. All of that was more than enough. It wasn't, because you risked your life for Han Jin without knowing who she was, without expecting anything in return. That kind of selflessness is... He paused, searching for words. It's extraordinary. And I wanted to meet the woman behind that courage properly, to understand what makes someone so brave. Heat flooded Lena's cheeks. I'm not brave. I saw a kid in trouble. I have training in crisis intervention. It was instinct. Instinct backed by action. Most people have instincts to help. Very few actually do it. Bojan leaned forward slightly. Tell me about yourself, your training. How does someone end up with crisis intervention skills working in a cafe? And somehow, despite all her intentions to keep this professional and brief, Lena found herself talking about her social work degree, her internships in domestic violence shelters, her dreams of making a real difference, about student loans and the harsh reality that nonprofit work didn't pay enough to survive, let alone thrive, about 3 years of watching her dreams collect dust while she served coffee and pretended she was okay with it. Bojan listened without interrupting, his attention complete and unwavering in a way that made Lena feel like the only person in the world. Why social work? He asked when she finished. What drew you to it? My best friend in high school, Emily, she was in an abusive relationship, and nobody saw it, or they saw it and didn't know how to help. By the time someone finally intervened, it was... Lena's voice caught. It was too late. She died senior year, and I promised myself I'd be someone who knew how to help, who wouldn't stand by and do nothing. Something shifted in Bojan's expression. Understanding, empathy, shared pain. I'm sorry for your friend, and for the fact that the world forced you to abandon work you clearly love. It's just reality. Can't change the world on minimum wage. What if you could? Bojan asked quietly. Go back to it. Social work. Use your skills the way you intended. Lena laughed, bitter and tired. With what money? I'm drowning in student loans as it is. Going back to school or taking a nonprofit job would mean losing my apartment, probably my car. It's not realistic. What if money wasn't an obstacle? She looked up sharply. Are you offering to pay off my student loans? Because Bojan, that's not an offer, a possibility. He held her gaze. Lena, I have resources, significant resources, and I'm looking for someone with your exact skill set to help with a project I'm developing. Suspicion crept in, cold and certain. What kind of project? A community center in the International District, resources for immigrant families, domestic violence support, job training, education programs. His voice was earnest, passionate. My family's business has complicated relationships with the community. I want to build something that actually helps, that gives back. And I need someone who understands crisis intervention, who knows how to build trust with vulnerable populations. Lena stared at him. You want to hire me? I want to offer you an opportunity to do the work you trained for at a salary that would let you live comfortably, to make the difference you wanted to make when you chose social work. He leaned forward. I'm not asking for an answer tonight. I'm just planting seeds, showing you there are possibilities you might not have considered. It was too good to be true. Had to be. And what would you want in return? Because people like you don't offer opportunities like this without expecting something. People like me, Bojan repeated, something that might have been hurt flickering across his face. You mean criminals? I mean powerful men who operate outside the law. He nodded slowly. Fair. You're right to be suspicious. But Lena, I don't want anything except your expertise. The center is separate from my other business. Completely legitimate. I'm trying to build something good, something that honors my mother's memory. She always said we had an obligation to protect the weak. I'm finally in a position to do that properly. The pain in his voice when he mentioned his mother was real, raw. Lena felt her suspicion waver. Think about it, Bojan said. No pressure. Tonight is just dinner. A thank you. But if you're interested in the opportunity, we can discuss details later. They talked through dinner, 3 courses that Lena barely tasted, too caught up in conversation that ranged from serious to surprisingly funny. Bojan had a dry wit that caught her off guard, a self-deprecating humor that seemed at odds with the dangerous reputation. He told her about Hanjin, about raising his teenage sister after their parents died, about the impossible balance of protecting her while running an organization built on violence. She wants to go to art school, he said with a soft smile. Photography. She's actually incredibly talented, but the world we live in, it's not safe for her to be that exposed. Yesterday proved that. The men who tried to take her, Lena asked carefully. Who were they? Bojan's expression hardened. Rival organization, the Chen family. They've been pushing into our territory for months, and they thought taking Han Jin would give them leverage. His jaw clenched. They were wrong. What happened to them after you took them? They're alive, mostly intact, delivered back to their boss with a very clear message about what happens when you threaten my family. He met her eyes. I'm not a good man, Lena. I won't pretend to be. My business involves violence, intimidation, operations that exist outside the law, but I protect what's mine, and I keep my word. Is that supposed to reassure me? It's supposed to be honest. You asked about my world. That's my world. I'm trying to make it better, to transition toward completely legitimate operations. It'll take time, maybe years, but I'm committed to it. The center is part of that, a bridge between who I've been and who I want to become. Lena should have been horrified, should have stood up and walked out. Instead, she found herself asking, and Hanjin, how is she after yesterday? Bojan's expression softened immediately. Scared, shaken, but alive thanks to you. She wants to meet you properly, actually, to say thank you herself. She doesn't need to thank me. She wants to. Lena, you're the first person outside our organization who's protected her without being paid to do it. That matters to her, to both of us. The evening ended too quickly. Bojan walked her to the car, and at the door he took her hand gently. Thank you, he said, for tonight, for giving me the chance to know you better. Your extraordinary doesn't even begin to cover it. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you throw yourself between danger and innocent people without hesitation. I know you abandon dreams because reality demanded it, but you haven't let that make you bitter. I know you see people, really see them, in a way most don't. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. I'd like to know more, if you're willing. Lena's heart hammered. Bojan, this is complicated. I know. Your world is dangerous. I know that too. I should walk away. This is the smart thing to do. Say thank you for dinner and never see you again. Probably, he agreed. But will you? Lena looked up at him, this dangerous, complicated man who looked at her like she was precious. I don't know. Ask me again in a few days when I've had time to think. Bojan smiled, relieved and hopeful. I can work with that. He opened the car door for her. Get home safely, and Lena, thank you for everything. The ride home passed in a blur. Lena's head spun with possibilities and warnings, attraction and common sense warring in her chest. She shouldn't see him again, shouldn't even consider his job offer, should put distance between herself and this world before she got in too deep. But as she lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling, she kept seeing Bojan's smile, kept hearing the genuine warmth in his voice when he talked about his sister, kept thinking about the possibility of doing work that mattered again, of being more than just a waitress marking time. Her phone buzzed. Another text. Thank you for tonight. Sleep well. BJ simple, sweet, completely devastating to her resolve. Lena typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on, thank you for dinner. It was nice. His response came immediately. Just nice. I'll have to try harder next time. Next time. He was already assuming there'd be a next time. The terrifying part was that Lena found herself hoping he was right. 2 days passed. 2 days during which Lena tried to focus on work, on her routine, on anything except the way Bojan had looked at her or the job offer that could change everything. On Saturday afternoon during the lunch rush, Han-jin walked into the cafe. Lena recognized her immediately. Same expensive school uniform, same nervous energy, but today accompanied by two bodyguards who tried and failed to look casual as they flanked her. Lena! Han-jin approached the counter, clutching a wrapped package. I'm sorry to bother you at work. I wanted to thank you. Properly. Up close, the girl looked younger than 16. Maybe it was the vulnerability in her eyes, or the way she held herself small, like she was used to being overlooked. Hey, Lena said gently. You don't need to thank me. I'm just glad you're okay. I'm okay because of you. Han-jin held out the package. I made you something. As a thank you. It's not much, but... Lena unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a photograph, black and white, artfully composed, showing the cafe's window with rain streaming down, light catching the droplets in a way that made them look like stars. It was beautiful, professional quality work. You took this? Last week. I've been coming here for months, always on Tuesdays. It's my safe space, you know? Away from bodyguards and Appa's world. Han-jin's expression grew serious. Those men who tried to take me, they'd been watching, waiting for a moment when I was alone. If you hadn't been there, but I was, and you're safe. Because you're brave, because you didn't look away. Tears welled in Han-jin's eyes. Most people, they see our family name, and they either run away or try to use us. But you just helped, like I was worth saving. Lena's heart broke a little. Han-jin, you are worth saving. You're worth protecting. Not because of your family name, because you're a person, a kid who deserves to feel safe. The girl's face crumpled. She hugged Lena suddenly, fiercely, and Lena found herself hugging back, this teenage stranger who'd become something more. Thank you, Han-jin whispered, for seeing me, for protecting me, for being brave when I couldn't be. When they separated, Han-jin wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed. Oppa says you might work for him, at the community center. Please say yes. Please, he needs someone like you. Someone good, someone who actually cares about helping people. It's complicated, because of what we are, what he does. Han-jin's voice was quiet. I know my brother's world is dangerous. I know he's done things that aren't good. But Lena, he's trying. He's been trying since our parents died to be better than our father was. The community center. That's his dream. To build something that actually helps instead of hurts. You love him very much, Lena observed. He raised me. After Mom and Dad died, he was 24 years old and suddenly responsible for a grieving 12-year-old. He could have sent me to relatives in Korea, focused on the business. But he kept me here, made sure I had everything I needed, even when it was hard. Han-jin's expression was fierce with loyalty. He's a good person trapped in a bad situation, and he deserves someone who sees that. The way she said it, someone, made it clear Han-jin wasn't just talking about an employee. Han-jin, I know I'm just a kid, but I've seen how he looks at you, like you're hope. And Appa hasn't had hope in a long time. The girl grabbed Lena's hand. Please give him a chance. Give the center a chance. Let yourself be brave again. She left before Lena could respond, bodyguards trailing her out, and Lena was left holding a photograph and a chest full of emotions she didn't know how to process. That was the boss's sister, Marcus said, appearing at her elbow. What did she want? To say thank you, to ask me to work for Bo-jin. Lena studied the photograph, the artistry in it, the way Han-jin had captured beauty in something as simple as rain on glass. She's really talented. Are you going to do it? Take the job? I don't know. It's everything I wanted. A chance to do real social work again, to help people. But working for a crime boss? That's not exactly career advice they give in grad school. But you want to, Marcus said, same as before. You want to work for him, and not just because of the job. I barely know him. You know enough. You know he loves his sister. You know he wants to build something good. You know he looks at you like you're the best thing that's ever happened to him. Marcus bumped her shoulder gently. And you know you haven't smiled this much in the entire time I've known you. Since he came into your life, you've been alive. Really alive. Was that true? Lena thought about the past few days, the fear and excitement and constant mental gymnastics of trying to figure out what to do. It had been exhausting. It had also been the most she'd felt in 3 years. Her phone buzzed. Bo-jin. Han-jin told me she visited. I hope she wasn't too overwhelming. She's passionate when she cares about something. Or someone. Lena smiled despite herself, typing back. She gave me a photograph. It's beautiful. She's really talented. She is. She gets that from our mother. The talent and the stubborn refusal to give up on people. A pause then. Have you thought about the center? No pressure. Just curious. Lena looked at the photograph, at the beauty Han-jin had found in something ordinary. Thought about the girl's fierce loyalty to her brother, about Bo-jin's genuine desire to build something good, about the possibility of doing work that actually mattered. She thought about fear versus courage, about playing it safe versus taking risks, about the difference between existing and truly living. Then she typed, I'd like to see it, the center. Before I decide anything, I want to see what you're building. His response was immediate. Tomorrow? I can pick you up, show you the space, explain the vision. Just looking. No commitment required. Just looking. That's what she'd told herself about dinner. And look how that had turned out. But Lena found herself typing, okay, tomorrow. 2 p.m.? Perfect. Thank you for giving this a chance. For giving me a chance. Lena set her phone down, looked at Han-jin's photograph again, and wondered if she was making the best decision of her life or the worst. Time would tell. Bo-jin picked her up personally on Sunday afternoon, driving a car that was nice but not ostentatious. A conscious choice, Lena suspected, to seem less intimidating. Thank you for agreeing to this, he said as they drove through the International District. I know it's a big ask, trusting someone you barely know, considering work that connects you to my world. I'm not agreeing to anything yet, Lena reminded him. I'm just looking. Just looking, he agreed, but his smile suggested he knew she was already half convinced. The building was in the heart of the International District, 3 stories, recently renovated, with large windows and accessible entrances. Inside was a work in progress, but Lena could see the vision. Open spaces for community meetings, private offices for counseling, a commercial kitchen for cooking classes, childcare facilities, computer labs. The ground floor will be drop-in services, Bo-jin explained as they walked through. Legal aid, housing assistance, job placement, no appointments necessary, no barriers to access. Anyone can walk in and get help. That's huge. Most places require referrals, documentation, which keeps out the people who need help most. I know. My mother used to volunteer at a center like that. She'd come home frustrated that the people most in crisis couldn't access services because they didn't have the right paperwork. Bo-jin's voice held old pain. I want to build something she would have been proud of. They climbed to the 2nd floor. Counseling rooms, meeting spaces, a large community room with traditional Korean decor mixed with modern amenities. This would be your space, Bo-jin said, gesturing to a corner office with windows overlooking the street. If you decide to join us, you'd run the crisis intervention program, hire your own staff, develop protocols, complete autonomy in how you build the department. Lena walked into the office, imagining it. Her space, her program, a chance to build something from the ground up, to actually help people the way she'd always dreamed. The salary, Bo-jin said quietly, would be $80,000 to start. Full benefits. Education assistance if you want to pursue additional certification, budget for staff and programs, everything you need to build something real. $80,000, more than double what she made at the cafe. Enough to pay off her student loans in a few years, to live comfortably, to actually save money for the first time since graduation. That's generous. It's what the position is worth, what you're worth. Bo-jin moved to stand beside her at the window. Lena, I'm not trying to buy your loyalty or compromise your ethics. I'm offering you the chance to do what you trained for, what you're passionate about. The center is completely separate from my other operations. Legal, legitimate, funded through my legitimate businesses. No criminal money, no strings attached. Can it really be that clean? Separate from everything else you do? It has to be. For Han-jin's sake. For the community's sake. For my own. He turned to face her. I'm trying to build something good, Lena. A legacy that's about helping instead of hurting. But I need people like you. People with integrity, with expertise, who won't compromise their values even when it's convenient. That's why I want you specifically. And if I say yes, what happens when your other world bleeds into this one? When rivals target the center to get to you? Then I protect it with everything I have. But Lena, I'm working toward getting out, transitioning the family business toward completely legitimate operations. It'll take time, maybe years, but I'm committed to it. The center is part of that, a bridge between who I've been and who I want to become. Lena studied him, this complicated, dangerous man who looked at her with such honest hope. Why me? Really? There must be 100 social workers in Seattle who'd jump at this opportunity. Because you didn't hesitate. When Han Jin was in danger, you didn't calculate the cost or weigh the risks. You just acted. That's the kind of person I need running the center. Someone who sees people in crisis and helps, no matter what. He paused. And because I want you in my life. Not just professionally. And this seemed like a way to make that possible without pressuring you into something you're not ready for. Heat flooded Lena's cheeks. Bojin, I know it's fast. I know we barely know each other. But Lena, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the moment I walked into that cafe and saw you standing between my sister and danger. You're brave and kind and absolutely extraordinary. And I want the chance to know you better. To prove that I can be worthy of someone like you. Lena's heart hammered. This is insane. You're offering me a job because you're attracted to me. I'm offering you a job because you're qualified and perfect for it. The attraction is separate. Honest, but separate. Bojin's expression was earnest. If you take this position and decide you want nothing to do with me personally, I'll respect that completely. The job stands regardless, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't hoping for more. You're very smooth for a crime boss. I'm very honest for anyone. He smiled. So, what do you think? About the center? About the job? Not about me. We can figure that out separately. Lena looked around the office again, at the space waiting to be filled with purpose. Thought about 3 years of serving coffee, of watching her dreams collect dust, of going through motions while pretending she was okay. Thought about Han Jin's fierce loyalty, about the community that needed help, about the possibility of making a real difference again. And thought about Bojin, complicated, dangerous, trying so hard to be better than his circumstances. I have conditions, she heard herself say. Hope blazed in Bojin's eyes. Name them. Complete autonomy over the crisis intervention program. You don't interfere with my hiring, my protocols, my methods. Agreed. The center stays completely separate from your criminal operations. No overlap, no using it as a front, no involving staff in anything illegal. Absolutely, that's non-negotiable for me too. And us, personally, we take it slow. No pressure, no expectations. We see where things go naturally. Bojin's smile was brilliant. Slow. I can do slow. I'll just be over here, being patient and trying not to count the minutes until I get to see you again. You're ridiculous. I'm honest. He offered his hand. So, do we have a deal? Lena looked at his hand. This choice, this risk, this leap into something that could be amazing or disastrous, or both. Thought about courage versus fear, about living versus existing. She took his hand. Deal. But Bojin, I'm serious about the autonomy thing. This center has to be legitimate, has to be clean. It will be, I promise. He squeezed her hand gently. Thank you, Lena, for taking the risk, for believing this could work. Don't make me regret it. I'll spend every day trying not to. He was still holding her hand, thumb brushing across her knuckles. When can you start? I need to give the cafe 2 weeks' notice. After that, I guess I'm yours. Something heated flashed in Bojin's eyes at that phrasing, but he kept his voice professional. 2 weeks. That gives us time to finalize staffing plans, get your office set up exactly how you want it. And, he hesitated, would you have dinner with me, again? To celebrate? Dinner, as in a date? As in spending time together outside of work? Whatever you want to call it. Lena knew she should say no, should keep clear boundaries, maintain professionalism. But looking at Bojin, at the hope and vulnerability in his eyes, she found herself saying, okay, but somewhere low-key this time. No fancy restaurants. I know the perfect place. Tomorrow night? Tomorrow night. It's a date. The words felt momentous, like stepping off a cliff. But Bo-jin, I'm trusting you. With the center, with Hanjin's safety, with everything. Don't make me regret that trust. I won't. I swear I won't. He lifted her hand to his lips, pressed a soft kiss to her knuckles. Thank you, Lena, for giving me this chance, for being brave enough to risk believing in someone like me. Don't make me brave sound like a compliment. Brave is usually just another word for stupid. Then let's be stupid together. Build something good. See where this goes. And standing in that empty office with possibility stretching out before them and danger lurking at the edges, Lena found herself hoping, terrified and exhilarated, and completely